Have you ever felt like your emotions were too much? Too deep, too sensitive, too overwhelming? Like you were carrying the weight of the world, while everyone else just kept going? If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. And you might just be living under the emotional influence of the most misunderstood zodiac sign, Cancer. People often say Cancers are moody. Too quiet, too emotional. But what if I told you, those same traits hold the key to emotional mastery? What if the very things that others see as weakness are actually your greatest strengths? Because beneath the surface, Cancer holds a rare gift. A gift of intuition, loyalty, healing, and depth that the modern world desperately needs. And once you understand how this sign works, from the inside out, you'll see why Cancer isn't just powerful. It's essential. In this video, we're going deep. Not just into astrology, but into psychology, emotion, and personal growth. We'll explore how Cancer's traits reveal powerful truths about human nature. And maybe about yourself, too. If you're ready for a journey into the heart of one of the most soulful signs in the zodiac, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's begin. There's something about Cancer that most people miss. They look at the surface and see sensitivity, emotions, quietness. But they don't realize they're looking at the very thing that holds the deepest power. Cancer feels things most people barely notice. A slight shift in someone's tone. A pause in the middle of a sentence. The look in your eyes when you say, "I'm fine," but you're clearly not. That's where Cancer lives. In the space between words. In the emotional energy that others overlook. And while the world may call that too much, Cancer calls it truth. They don't just feel emotions. They understand them. Like an emotional mirror, they reflect what others are afraid to see. And in doing so, they help us face our own truth. Because healing doesn't begin with hiding. It begins with feeling. And Cancer gives us permission to feel. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not just with their ears, but with their heart. That's the Cancer gift. They don't interrupt. They don't rush to fix you. They sit with you. They hold space. They let the silence breathe. So you can finally hear your own voice again. That's why people feel safe around them. Not because they talk the most, but because they feel the most. And in a world addicted to noise, that kind of quiet presence is rare. But this emotional power doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from their past. From all the moments they were told they were too sensitive. From the nights they cried in silence because they didn't want to burden anyone. From carrying other people's pain on their shoulders, without ever being asked to. Cancer remembers. Not just dates or words, but feelings. They remember how it felt when someone betrayed them. How it felt to be left out, misunderstood, or unseen. And because they remember that pain, they go out of their way to make sure you don't feel it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. It's compassion born from experience. You'll see it in the way they care. In the way they check in on you, when no one else does. In the way they sense when you're not okay, even when you swear you are. They notice the little things. The tone of your voice. The way you hold your coffee cup a little tighter than usual. The fact that you've been quieter lately. Even if your smile is still there. And this doesn't just make them good friends. It makes them incredible healers. Therapists. Counselors. Teachers. Even artists. Because Cancer doesn't just feel emotions, they transform them. They take sadness and turn it into a song. They take heartbreak and turn it into poetry. They turn pain into meaning. And in that alchemy, they help the world heal. One quiet act of empathy at a time. But here's what's even more powerful. Cancer knows when to retreat. They know when their emotional cup is running low. They don't always ask for help, but they do need it. So if you have a Cancer in your life, don't wait for them to break down before offering your support. Check in on them. Ask how they're doing, really. Because sometimes, the strongest ones are the ones carrying silent battles. And what fuels this depth? Their connection to the moon. The ever-changing lunar cycles shape their inner world. Just like the tides rise and fall, so do their emotions. But instead of resisting the change, they embrace it. They are the change. They understand that emotion is not a problem to be solved, but a language to be felt. Some nights, they glow with hope. Other nights, they retreat into shadow. And both are sacred. Because real emotional intelligence isn't about being happy all the time. It's about knowing how to be with your emotions, without letting them define you. This is why Cancers often seem wise beyond their years. Even as children, they ask deep questions. They wonder why people hurt each other. They feel the room before they speak. They notice when their parents are sad, even if no one says a word. It's like they were born with an emotional radar. A radar that never turns off. So how can you learn from Cancer? Slow down. Feel more. Listen without waiting to respond. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? And don't be afraid of the answer. The truth is, being emotionally deep in a shallow world is a kind of rebellion. And Cancer leads that rebellion with grace. Not by shouting, but by feeling. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the world needs more of. Not louder voices, but deeper hearts. Sometimes, we forget how much wisdom lives in silence. Cancer doesn't need to shout to be heard. They speak volumes in the way they look at you. The way they pause before answering. The way they sense what's really going on, even when you're trying to hide it. That's their intuition at work. And no, it's not some magical superpower. It's emotional awareness that's been finely tuned over time. It's the result of constantly observing, absorbing, and feeling the world around them. They don't just hear what you say, they feel what you don't. You might walk into a room and not notice a thing. But Cancer? They've already read the energy, picked up on the mood, and adjusted themselves accordingly. It's not about control. It's about harmony. They know when to speak, and when silence is more healing. They know when someone needs advice, and when someone just needs a hug. They don't need proof, data, or facts to believe what their gut tells them. Because 9 times out of 10, they're right. This kind of intuition is often dismissed in our fast, logical world. We're taught to trust spreadsheets, not feelings. But feelings are data. And Cancer? They've been decoding that emotional language their whole life. In relationships, this makes them powerful partners. They see red flags long before others do. They sense when something's off, even before the conversation happens. And that's not paranoia, it's perception. It's knowing the storm is coming before the clouds even gather. But intuition isn't just useful in love. It's a compass for life. It helps Cancer avoid toxic people, bad deals, or misaligned paths. They may not always follow logic, but they follow truth. And when they do, it leads them somewhere that most people spend years searching for. Authenticity, alignment, peace. This deep inner guidance doesn't make life easier, but it does make life more honest. And in a world full of noise, that kind of quiet truth is rare. Now think about what it's like to walk into a Cancer's home. It's not just cozy. It's safe. It feels like someone thought about your comfort before you arrived. Maybe it's the way the lights are soft, or how the couch pulls you in, or how the kitchen smells like something warm is about to be shared. For Cancer, home is more than a place. It's an emotional sanctuary. It's a reflection of their inner world, filled with care, attention, and intention. They don't decorate for Instagram. They decorate for the soul. Each corner holds a story. Each object has meaning. A photograph from childhood. A handmade gift. A card they couldn't throw away because the words mattered. Cancer turns space into memory. And memory into comfort. They know how to nurture through their surroundings. Whether it's cooking your favorite meal, setting the table just right, or creating an atmosphere where you feel free to be fully yourself. And it's not about perfection. It's about presence. About the kind of love that says, I see you. You're safe here. That's why people linger in their homes longer. Why they open up more easily. Why conversations go deeper. Because the space itself invites truth. And this same energy flows into how Cancer loves. Love, for them, isn't casual. It's not a temporary feeling. It's a commitment. A quiet, enduring flame. When Cancer loves you, they love all of you. Even the parts you don't show the world. They remember the things you forgot you told them. They check on you when others don't. They notice your patterns. Your silences. Your sighs. They don't just say I love you. They show it. In small ways. Like bringing you your favorite snack on a bad day. Or texting you just because they felt you might need it. Or sitting in silence when words would only get in the way. Some people call this too much. Too emotional. Too intense. But that intensity? It's what makes love real. Not the kind that fades when things get hard. But the kind that holds you through the storm. Cancer's love is romantic not because of grand gestures. But because of the little ones. Done consistently. With care. That's what turns ordinary love into something sacred. And here's the thing most people never see. How much emotional labor Cancer puts into their relationships. They're constantly checking the emotional temperature. Tuning in. Adjusting. Holding space. Offering support. And most of the time, they do it without asking for anything in return. But they do need something. They need to feel safe enough to be soft. To be vulnerable. To be loved in return, not just needed. That's why trust is everything to them. Break it and it cuts deep. Not because they're fragile. But because they gave you their most honest self. And that self isn't something they offer lightly. So if you love a Cancer, love them in the quiet moments. Be there when they're not okay. Hold them when they can't hold themselves. Because when they love you, they're all in. And here's something that might surprise you. Cancers don't forget. Not just memories, but emotions. The way you made them feel. That's their language. That's their map. So if they hold on to things longer, it's not about being stuck in the past. It's about honoring what mattered. The people. The moments. The love. The hurt. It all lives inside them. But instead of letting it harden them, they use it. They turn it into compassion. Into empathy. Into connection. That's why when Cancer speaks, people listen. Because behind every word, there's history. Behind every gesture, there's meaning. Behind every silence, there's a story. And the deeper you go with them, the more you realize. This isn't just about Cancer. It's about the human heart. It's about you. Me. All of us. And if you've made it this far, you're just starting to see what makes this sign so powerful. Because what comes next? The final 3 insights. Might just be the most revealing. And the most emotionally controversial parts of this entire journey. Stay with me. Have you ever wondered why some people can hold so much pain and still show up with kindness? Why they carry the weight of others but never ask for help themselves. That quiet strength. That invisible endurance. It lives inside Cancer. They are resilient in ways the world often overlooks. Not because they don't feel pain, but because they've learned how to move through it. Not around it. Not above it. Through it. When life hits hard, Cancer doesn't collapse. They retreat, they process, they cry if they need to. And then, they rise. Not louder, but stronger. More grounded. More clear. This kind of resilience isn't always obvious. It doesn't wear armor. It wears softness. But don't mistake softness for weakness. Cancer's softness is a conscious choice. To feel deeply, even when it hurts. To keep loving, even when they've been let down. To stay open, when closing off would be easier. That takes courage. Real courage. Because the world teaches us to numb. To toughen up. To move on quickly. But Cancer teaches us something else. To slow down. To grieve. To sit with our pain until it becomes wisdom. And then, to help someone else through theirs. That's what makes them quietly powerful. Not because they have no scars, but because they know what to do with them. And if you've ever had a Cancer by your side during a hard time, you know what that support feels like. It's not performative. It's not conditional. It's just there. Steady. Unshakable. They show up when others disappear. They check in even when they're tired. They give not because they expect something back, but because they feel your struggle like it's their own. They're the ones who hold your hand in the hospital. Who stay on the phone until you calm down. Who drop off food without asking questions. And who remember that one small thing you said months ago. And bring it up just when you need it. That's the kind of support that changes lives. And it's not loud. It's quiet. It's consistent. And it's real. But here's what you might not realize. That calm energy you feel around them? It's not just personality. It's charisma. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself. Cancer has a natural warmth. They don't enter a room needing attention. But somehow, they attract it. People open up to them without knowing why. They feel safe. Seen. Accepted. That's because Cancer's charisma isn't about charm, it's about presence. They're with you, fully. They're not distracted. They're not judging. They're just there. And in a world full of noise, that stillness is magnetic. It makes people want to stay. To share. To breathe. This kind of energy can't be faked. It comes from living honestly. From walking through life with compassion instead of ego. From knowing that the most powerful thing you can offer another person is your full attention. And that's why people trust Cancer. Not because they say the perfect thing, but because their presence says, you don't have to be perfect here. There's a tenderness in the way they connect. Not just with friends or partners, but with everyone. The child crying in the grocery store. The elderly neighbor across the hall. The friend who's been distant lately. Cancer notices. And they act on it. But when someone they love is threatened, that tenderness turns to fire. Because Cancer is protective. Not in a loud, aggressive way, but in a fierce, loyal, non-negotiable way. You hurt someone they care about? You'll see a side of them you didn't know existed. Because love, to them, means defending. It means standing between the people they love and the things that hurt them. Not just physically, but emotionally, too. They're the ones who speak up when someone crosses a line. Who create boundaries when others won't. Who become the emotional bodyguard when someone feels too exposed. And here's the truth. Cancer doesn't just protect people. They protect peace. They sense tension before it explodes. They soothe it before it spreads. That's why their presence feels so grounding. Like a lighthouse in emotional storms. Like someone who will hold the line when everything else falls apart. And they do all this with a patience that can feel almost unreal. They don't rush to conclusions. They don't push timelines. They understand that emotions take time. Healing takes time. Trust takes time. So they wait. They listen. They hold space. In relationships, this patience is gold. They don't walk away the moment things get tough. They stay. They work through it. They try again. Because they know that real love is not instant. It's built. Layer by layer. Conversation by conversation. And in friendships? They're the ones who don't forget your past. Who remember what you've been through. And who know that sometimes, the best thing you can do is simply not give up on someone. That's the kind of patience that heals. The kind that doesn't just fill time. It transforms it. So if you've ever felt rushed, misunderstood, or emotionally left behind, find someone with Cancer energy. Or learn to be that energy. Slow down. Listen longer. Love softer. Because in a world chasing instant everything, Cancer reminds us of something far more valuable. Emotional presence. Consistent care. And the quiet strength to hold space for the people we love. And now, we're entering the final part of this journey. The last 3 truths about Cancer. The ones people rarely talk about. The ones that go deeper than traits. And challenge how we see love, vulnerability, and self-worth. You don't want to miss what comes next. There's something deeply mystical about the way Cancer connects with the moon. It's not just symbolic, it's cellular. They feel the tides of the world. Not with logic, but with the body. With the heart. With that quiet, knowing part of the soul that doesn't need proof to believe. When the moon is full, their emotions swell. When it's new, they turn inward. You can see it in the way their mood shifts. The way they suddenly need silence. Or suddenly overflow with energy. It's not drama. It's rhythm. And if you've ever, so they can move through it. That's how healing happens. Not by hiding. But by accepting each emotional phase for what it is, temporary, meaningful, human. And that lunar connection isn't just about them. It's also what allows them to feel you. To tune in. To hold space for your sorrow, your joy, your confusion, without needing you to explain. Because they get it. They live there too. People often say Cancers are moody. As if that's a flaw. But moods are messages. Signals from the emotional body. Cancer knows how to read them, like poetry, like music. And when you learn to read them too, your entire relationship with yourself begins to change. Their lunar wisdom teaches us to listen deeper. Not just to what people say, but to what they feel. To what you feel. And maybe that's why they're so generous. Not just with money or time, but with presence. With emotional energy. They give without needing to be noticed. Without strings. They offer support even when they're tired. They share their last bit of comfort. Because they know what it's like to feel alone. To feel like no one sees you. So they make sure you feel seen. It's easy to overlook this kind of generosity. Because it's not flashy. It's quiet. Subtle. But powerful. The kind that stays with you. Long after the moment has passed. It's the friend who remembers your favorite tea. The partner who texts you good luck before a meeting. The neighbor who checks in because they haven't seen your light on in a while. Small things, right? But those things change people. Because it's not the size of the gesture that matters. It's the meaning behind it. Cancer gives from the heart. Not to impress, but to connect. To make sure you know you're not invisible. That your pain matters. That your joy matters. And in a world that often moves too fast to care, Cancer slows down and gives. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Their emotional flexibility. Their ability to adapt to other people's feelings without losing themselves. That's not easy. It takes skill. It takes emotional intelligence. They don't react, they respond. They know that emotions are always moving. So they move too. They adjust their tone, their pace, their presence. They don't force others to match their energy. Instead, they meet people where they are. With compassion. With grace. This makes them excellent in conflict. Not because they fight. What's underneath the reaction? Cancer knows how to ask those questions. Gently, intuitively, without judgment. They hold emotional space like a guide. And they help others feel safe enough to grow. This kind of emotional adaptability is rare. Most people either shut down or get overwhelmed. But Cancer knows how to stay centered. Even in someone else's emotional storm. They don't fix you. They feel with you. And that's often all we really need. That presence. That ability to stay. To witness. To hold emotional complexity without trying to change it. That's healing. So if you're someone who's ever struggled with emotional regulation, watch a Cancer. Learn from them. Ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped resisting my emotions? And started listening to them instead? Because that's what Cancer teaches. That your feelings are not the enemy. They're the language of your soul. And when you learn to speak that language, everything begins to shift. And maybe that's the reason why their friendships last a lifetime. Because they're not surface-level connections. They're built on truth. On feeling. On shared moments of silence, and pain, and joy. Cancer doesn't need to be the center of attention. They just need to know that what's real matters. That loyalty is more than words. It's consistency. It's remembering birthdays. It's showing up even when it's inconvenient. They don't collect friends, they build relationships. Slowly. Carefully. With intention. And when you're their friend, you're not just part of their life. You're part of their heart. So if you're looking for someone who will love you through your darkest nights, who will sit beside you when you fall apart, and cheer for you when you rise again, that's Cancer. They don't care who you pretend to be. They care about who you are. The you behind the masks. The you that cries in secret. The you that's still learning how to trust. They see that part of you. And they don't run from it. They hold it gently. Like something sacred. And in that, they give you permission to be your full, emotional, complex self. Not someday. Not when you're healed. But now. As you are. And maybe, that's the deepest kind of friendship there is. Now. We've explored so much about Cancer already. Their strength. Their heart. Their quiet wisdom. But what comes next goes even deeper. The final 3 truths are not just about Cancer. They're about you. About how you see love. How you show up in relationships. And how you define your own worth. Get ready. Because the last part of this journey may challenge everything you thought you knew. Humility is one of Cancer's most silent powers. They don't chase praise. They don't need the spotlight. And they rarely tell you how much they've done for others. Because for them, love is never a performance. It's a quiet choice, made again and again. With no audience, no applause. They don't count the times they've been there for someone. They don't keep score. They don't give to be seen, they give because they feel. Because something inside them says, if I can make someone's life a little softer today, then it's worth it. And in a world full of self-promotion, this humility stands out like a light in the dark. It reminds us that true character doesn't need to announce itself. It's shown in actions, in presence, in how someone treats people when no one is watching. A Cancer will sit beside you in silence when words feel too heavy. They'll give you their last ounce of energy and never mention it again. They'll carry the weight without asking for credit. Not because they don't have needs, but because your needs matter to them, too. And yet, this same humility can be misunderstood. Some see it as weakness. Some take it for granted. But those who take the time to really see a Cancer, who listen closely, they know how rare that kind of selflessness truly is. And maybe that's where their wisdom comes from. Not from age, but from observation. From feeling deeply, consistently, over time. From watching people, not just what they say, but how they behave. Cancer learns fast. Not from books, but from hearts. They watch how love shows up, how trust is earned, how pain changes people. They see the invisible things, the subtle signs that someone is hurting, the moments when silence says more than words. That's why their advice hits differently. It's not generic. It's not recycled. It's tuned to you. It comes from a place of deep emotional intelligence. From a space where logic meets empathy. And when Cancer gives advice, they don't just tell you what to do. They remind you of who you are. They help you hear your own truth again. Because they know, the best advice isn't an answer. It's a mirror. They hold that mirror with care. They reflect your strength, your struggle, your softness, your potential. And when you're lost, they don't drag you forward. They sit beside you until you find your way again. That's their wisdom. Not loud, but steady. Not flashy, but unforgettable. So maybe the real gift of Cancer isn't just how much they feel. It's how deeply they understand. And how gently they use that understanding to hold the people they love. That's something the world needs more of. Not louder voices, but deeper ones. Not stronger egos, but softer hearts. And if you've seen yourself in these words, even just a little, that's something to be proud of. Because it means you carry the kind of energy that heals. So as we come to the end of this video, remember this. Sensitivity is not weakness. It's wisdom wrapped in tenderness. Loyalty is not old-fashioned. It's rare and sacred. And love, real love, starts in the quiet moments. When no one's watching. And you choose to care anyway. If you felt something in this video, if it reminded you of someone, or maybe even reminded you of you, take a moment to share it. Someone in your life might need to hear this today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Not because you have to, but because there's so much more to explore. More signs, more depth, more emotional truths that might just change the way you see yourself. Thank you for staying till the end. This space is for you. For your heart, your story, and your growth. See you in the next one.